This presentation explores historical accounts, religious beliefs, and mysterious events. Some stories involve perilous situations and themes of death. Viewer discretion is advised. There is a mountain on this planet that has never been climbed. Not because it's the tallest, it's over 2,000 feet shorter than Everest. Not because it's a secret billions of people know exactly where it is. It remains unclimbed because, according to all who have tried, the mountain itself does not allow it. This is not a metaphor. It is a terrifying warning echoed by explorers, mountaineers, and governments for over a century. Those who attempt to defy it are met with more than just bad weather. They report time itself warping around them. Compasses and GPS systems spin uselessly. Healthy, experienced climbers suddenly age decades in a matter of hours, their hair turning white, their bodies withering. Some are plagued by horrific visions, a sense of an unseen intelligence actively pushing them away. Others simply vanish without a trace. The Chinese government, after several disastrous and secret attempts, has now made it illegal to even try. So what is this place? A geological anomaly? A sacred ground protected by faith? Or is it something else entirely? A power source, a piece of ancient technology, or a gateway that humanity was never meant to open? The deeper you look into Mount Kailash, the more you realize the question isn't if something is hiding there. The question is, what is it? In the farthest, most desolate corner of the Tibetan plateau, a landscape so alien it's often called the roof of the world, stands a pyramid of black rock crowned in eternal snow. This is Kailash. To understand its power, you first have to understand its location. It is the heart of a cosmic mandala. From its peak, 4 of Asia's greatest rivers are born, flowing out in the 4 cardinal directions to give life to billions. The Indus, the Brahmaputra, the Sutlej, and the Karnali. For a single mountain to be the source of so many vital waterways is a hydrogeological freak of nature. Geologists are baffled. Ancient texts, however, are not. They call it the Axis Mundi, the literal center of the universe, the pillar connecting the heavens and the earth. For Hindus, this is not just a mountain. It is the throne of Lord Shiva, the destroyer of evil, the supreme being, meditating in a state of perpetual bliss. It is the source of all cosmic energy. For Buddhists, it is the home of the Buddha Demchok, who represents supreme enlightenment. For followers of the ancient Bon religion of Tibet, it is the very spot where their founder descended from the sky. For Jains, it is where their first prophet attained liberation. Think about that. For major world religions with vastly different beliefs, all independently point to this one single peak and say, "This is the most sacred place on earth. This is where it all began." It's as if the Vatican, Mecca, and the Temple Mount in Jerusalem were all found to be the exact same single location. The sheer statistical improbability of this is staggering, but the mystery deepens when you simply look at it. Mount Kailash is not a jagged, random peak like its Himalayan neighbors. It appears almost engineered. It possesses 4 distinct, symmetrical faces, almost perfectly aligned with the 4 points of a compass. Its shape is uncannily like the Great Pyramids of Egypt or Mesoamerica, leading many to question if it is a natural formation at all. Could it be a colossal, earth-born pyramid, a remnant of a civilization far older than our own? The southern face of the mountain is particularly chilling. A massive vertical gash runs down its center, intersected by a horizontal rock layer, forming the unmistakable shape of a swastika, an ancient symbol of good fortune and spirituality in Eastern religions, long before it was corrupted in the West. Is this a coincidence of erosion? Or is it a sign, carved into the very stone of the planet? The stories of those who dared approach the summit are the stuff of nightmares. In the 1920s, a British mountaineer named Hugh Rutledge studied the mountain, describing its faces as utterly unclimbable. He, like every other Western explorer of his time, turned back. Another, Colonel R.C. Wilson, was exploring a path up the mountain when a sudden freak snowstorm materialized out of a clear sky, forcing his team into a desperate retreat. He wrote later, "The moment I decided to go for it, a heavy snow began to fall. I was not the least surprised. The sacred mountain has other ways of protecting itself. Perhaps the most famous account is that of Reinhold Messner, arguably the greatest mountaineer in human history, the first man to climb Everest without supplemental oxygen, the first to climb all 14 of the world's 8,000-meter peaks. In the 1980s, the Chinese government gave him a permit to climb Kailash. He stood at its base, looked up at its silent, imposing face and refused. Messner, a man who had conquered the most dangerous peaks on the planet, turned away. When asked why, he said, "If we conquer this mountain, then we conquer something in people's souls. I would suggest they go and climb something a little harder. Kailash is not so high and not so hard." A strange statement from a man who lived for challenge. What did he see? What did he feel at the base of that mountain that made the world's greatest climber walk away? The Russians, however, were not so respectful. A persistent and terrifying legend speaks of a secret Soviet expedition in the late 1990s. A team of climbers backed by the state decided to ignore the warnings and push for the summit. The story, pieced together from hushed whispers and alleged leaked reports, is horrifying. As they ascended past a certain altitude, they began to feel inexplicably weak and disoriented. Their hair and fingernails began to grow at an impossible rate, the equivalent of 2 weeks of normal growth in just 12 hours. They were aging rapidly. Terrified, they abandoned the climb and descended, but the damage was done. Within a year, every single member of the expedition had died prematurely of old age. The official cause was listed as various organ failures, but those who knew the story knew the truth. The mountain had passed its sentence. Of course, scientists and skeptics offer more grounded explanations. Kailash is located at an extreme altitude of over 22,000 feet. The weather is notoriously unstable, capable of shifting from clear skies to a lethal blizzard in minutes. The rock itself is said to be vertically stratified and unusually brittle, making it a poor surface for climbing. And the remoteness makes any rescue operation virtually impossible. These are all valid logical reasons, but they don't explain everything. They don't explain why K2, the Savage Mountain, which is far taller, more technically difficult, and has a fatality rate of nearly 1 in 4, has been summited hundreds of times. They don't explain why mountaineers who have faced down death on Annapurna, the world's most dangerous peak, feel a unique and intelligent sense of dread at Kailash. And they certainly don't explain the accounts of warp time, scrambled equipment, and accelerated aging. The scientific explanations feel incomplete. They describe the how, but they completely fail to address the why. Why does this specific mountain seem to be wrapped in a bubble of high strangeness? Why do all the compasses, both mechanical and spiritual, point directly to this one spot on the map? The mystery isn't just what lies at the summit, it's what lies at its base. Guarding the mountain are 2 lakes, a divine pair of opposites. To the south lies Lake Manasarovar, the Lake of Consciousness. It is one of the highest freshwater lakes in the world, a perfect circle of placid sapphire blue water, revered as a place of immense healing and purity. But right next to it, separated only by a thin isthmus, lies Rakshas-Tal, the lake of the demon. This lake is crescent-shaped, its waters are saline and lifeless, and it is constantly battered by violent storms, even when the sky over Manasarovar is perfectly calm. One lake is the embodiment of light, the other of darkness. Why do these 2 polar opposite bodies of water exist side by side at the foot of this specific mountain? It's another piece of a puzzle that seems deliberately designed to make us question the nature of our reality. The ancients believed these lakes were a final test, a gateway. To approach the mountain of the gods, you must first pass between the waters of the mind and the waters of the demon. And beneath it all, legends speak of something even more profound. A vast underground city called Shambhala, a kingdom of enlightened beings who are the true guardians of our planet, waiting for humanity to be ready for their wisdom. They say the entrance to this kingdom lies somewhere near Kailash. The mountain remains silent and waiting. It is a mystery locked in stone and ice, a challenge not to our climbing ability, but to our understanding of the universe. It forces us to ask uncomfortable questions. Is it possible that ancient civilizations knew things about physics, about energy, about consciousness that we have long forgotten? Is Mount Kailash simply a sacred rock? Or is it a silent sentinel, guarding secrets we are not yet prepared to face? The evidence, the stories, and the sheer weight of belief from billions of people suggest that whatever is happening at this remote peak in Tibet, it is far more than just a climbing challenge. It is a confrontation with the unknown. This confrontation is woven into the very fabric of the mountain's geography, a geography so unique, so impossibly perfect, it has been described by ancient texts and modern mystics alike as the center of the universe. Not just a spiritual center, but a physical one. This is the concept of the axis mundi, the cosmic pillar, the world tree that connects the terrestrial realm with the heavens. Nearly every ancient culture has its own version. The Greeks had Mount Olympus, the Norse had Yggdrasil, the Egyptians had the Pillars of Shu. But many believe Mount Kailash isn't just a version of this legend. It is the source of it, the literal physical anchor point of our world. Look at a map. From the peak of Kailash, four of the most vital rivers in Asia begin their long journeys, flowing out in the four cardinal directions as if from a divine spout. To the north, the Indus River, cradle of one of the world's oldest civilizations. To the east, the Brahmaputra, winding its way through Tibet and India. To the south, the Karnali, a major tributary of the sacred Ganges River. And to the west, the Sutlej, which carves its path through the Himalayas. Billions of people across half a dozen nations depend on the water that originates from this single solitary peak. It is the life-giving heart of a continent. Is it any wonder that ancient peoples saw this not as a geological coincidence, but as a deliberate divine design? A throne for the gods, from which they nourished the world of mortals below. And the mountain itself seems built to be a throne. It's not jagged and chaotic like its Himalayan neighbors. It stands apart, a stark black pyramid of rock strangely symmetrical. Its four sheer faces align almost perfectly with the cardinal points of a compass. Imagine a massive man-made pyramid, and you're close to the image of Kailash. This unnerving regularity has led some, including Russian ophthalmologist Ernst Muldashev, to propose a wild theory. That Kailash is not a natural mountain at all, but a colossal, ancient, man-made pyramid, the center of a global system of similar structures, and that its hollow interior contains beings from a lost civilization. While this is far from a mainstream scientific view, it speaks to the sheer awe and disbelief the mountain's perfect form inspires. Just doesn't look natural. The rock faces are etched with massive horizontal striations, looking like the layers of some cosmic masonry. A gigantic vertical fissure cuts down the southern face, and when the sun sets, the shadows it casts, combined with the horizontal lines, create the unmistakable image of a swastika, an ancient symbol of good fortune and eternity in Hinduism, Buddhism, and Jainism. The peak itself is a dome of perennial snow and ice, sitting atop the dark rock like a crown. For Hindus, this image is unmistakable. It is the ultimate Shiva lingam, the abstract phallic representation of Lord Shiva, the creative and destructive force of the universe, eternally anointed by the heavens. The mountain doesn't just represent Shiva's home. It represents Shiva himself. But the divine architecture doesn't end with the mountain. At its base lie two lakes, a study in cosmic duality, a physical manifestation of good and evil, light and darkness. First, there is Lake Manasarovar. At nearly 15,000 feet, it is one of the highest freshwater lakes in the world. Its name translates to Lake of Consciousness and Enlightenment. It is perfectly round, a mirror of the sun, and its waters are famously placid, crystal clear, and said to have healing properties. Pilgrims believe that bathing in its waters and drinking from it washes away the sins of 100 lifetimes. It is a symbol of purity, divinity, and the creative forces of the universe. And then, separated by only a thin isthmus of land, lies its twin, Rakshas-Tal, the lake of the demon. In stark contrast to Manasarovar, this lake is crescent-shaped, a reflection of the moon. Its waters are saline, turbulent, and devoid of life. No plants grow on its shores. Local lore holds that this is where the demon king Ravana performed severe penance to please Lord Shiva, and as such, the lake is imbued with negative, demonic energy. No pilgrim will touch its water, let alone drink from it. One lake a symbol of the soul, the other a symbol of the ego. Light and dark, sun and moon, fresh water and salt, life and sterility, existing side by side at the foot of the gods. The balance is so precise, so poetically perfect, it feels less like geology and more like mythology brought to life. It is into this landscape of profound symbolism that pilgrims venture, not to conquer the peak, but to surrender to it. The ultimate act of devotion at Mount Kailash is not to climb it, but to walk around it. This is the Kora, or Parikrama, a 32-mile trek that circles the base of the mountain. It is a journey of immense physical and spiritual difficulty, undertaken at altitudes where the air is thin and every step is a struggle. For Buddhists and Hindus, completing a single Kora is believed to erase the sins of a lifetime. Completing 108 Koras, a sacred number in these faiths, is said to break the cycle of reincarnation and grant enlightenment, or nirvana. This is the real challenge of Kailash. It's a paradigm shift for the Western mindset, which is so focused on conquest and reaching the summit. Here the goal is humility. The goal is to circle the center, not to stand upon it. The journey is inward, a circumambulation of one's own soul, mirrored by the physical walk around the soul of the world. It is a grueling multi-day trek that takes pilgrims over the 18,600-foot Dral Pass, a place littered with prayer flags left by those who came before, each one a whisper of hope and devotion sent into the unforgiving winds. They face freezing temperatures, unpredictable weather, and the constant threat of altitude sickness. Many do not make it, but for those who do, it is a transformative experience. But the geography, the lakes, the pilgrimage, they are only the physical stage for a play of much stranger forces. For it's here, in this thin, unforgiving air, that the laws of physics themselves seem to bend. Stories abound from pilgrims and the few researchers who have ventured here of bizarre, unexplained phenomena. The most persistent and unsettling of these is the rumor of accelerated time. Locals and visitors have claimed that time moves faster near the mountain. They say a 12-hour period spent on its slopes can correspond to weeks or even months of aging. Hair and fingernails are said to grow at a dramatically accelerated rate. Is this just a myth born of high-altitude disorientation? Or is there some strange temporal or magnetic anomaly at play? Compasses spin wildly, refusing to point north. GPS systems become unreliable. The very air is said to hum with an energy that science is only beginning to understand. What is this mysterious force field? And what happens to those who spend too much time within its grasp? The stories that trickle out from the shadows of Kailash are not for the faint of heart. They are whispers, fragmented accounts from terrified locals and bewildered explorers, all revolving around a single horrifying idea: that in the immediate vicinity of this sacred peak, time itself behaves differently. It's said that 12 hours spent in the mountain's energy field is equivalent to 2 weeks of normal time. Your hair, your fingernails, they grow at an accelerated rate. This isn't just a myth told around a campfire. It's a recurring observation. There is a chilling, though difficult to verify, report of a group of Siberian mountaineers who, in the 1980s, ventured into a forbidden valley near Kailash. They were warned by locals not to cross a specific line, a demarcation point known only to the Tibetan guides. Believing it to be simple superstition, they ignored the warnings and set up camp. Within a few hours, they began to feel an inexplicable fatigue, a profound weakness that settled deep in their bones. They retreated, but the damage was done. Upon returning to their home city, they found they had aged decades in the span of a few days. Their youthful bodies were now stooped and frail, their faces lined with the wrinkles of old age. According to the legend, every single one of them died of old age within a year. Is this just a scary story? Perhaps. But it's a story that echoes through countless other testimonies. Russian ophthalmologist Ernst Muldashev, who led several expeditions to the region, documented similar accounts. He spoke of a strange lassitude, a rapid drain of life force that afflicted his team members the closer they got to the mountain. He theorized that Kailash acts as a kind of temporal accumulator, a focal point where time is compressed and distorted. He believed the mountain exists in a different time dimension, and that proximity to it forces our biological clocks to try and sync with its unnatural rhythm, causing our bodies to rapidly break down. Think about it. We accept that gravity can bend space and time. We know that massive objects like black holes can warp reality itself. Mount Kailash isn't a black hole. But what if it's something else? What if the unique pyramidal shape, its precise alignment with the cardinal directions, and its unusual geological composition create a localized spatio-temporal anomaly, a kind of time vortex? This isn't a phenomenon that can be measured with a stopwatch. It's a biological effect, a subtle but relentless pressure on the very cells of your body, forcing them to live out their lifespan at a terrifying speed. It's as if the mountain, the abode of the god who is the master of time and destruction, demands a toll from all who dare approach. And that toll is your life. But the mountain's strangeness doesn't end with the manipulation of time. Just south of Kailash, nestled at its base, lies one of the most profound and perplexing geographical features on the entire planet. Two mystical lakes sitting side by side, yet existing as polar opposites. They are the yin and yang of this sacred landscape, a physical manifestation of the universe's fundamental duality. First, there is Lake Manasarovar. The name itself means mind-born lake. According to Hindu scripture, The god Brahma conceived of this lake in his mind before creating it on earth. It is one of the highest freshwater lakes in the world, a breathtaking expanse of turquoise water so pure and clear you feel you can see into eternity. It is a symbol of light, purity, and spiritual awakening. Its shape is round like the sun, a perfect circle of life-giving energy. For millennia, pilgrims have traveled here under the most grueling conditions, just to take a single sip of its water, to perform a sacred bath in its icy depths. It is believed that to bathe in Manasarovar is to wash away the sins of 100 lifetimes. The water is calm, serene, and teeming with life. Swans, known in Hindu mythology as the sacred Hamsa, glide across its surface. The atmosphere here is one of profound peace, a tranquility that seeps into your soul and quiets the noise of the modern world. It is the lake of the gods. And then, separated by only a thin, narrow isthmus of land, is its dark twin, Rakshas-Tal, the demon lake. If Manasarovar is the sun, Rakshas-Tal is the crescent moon, its shape jagged and ominous. If Manasarovar is pure, fresh, and life-giving, Rakshas-Tal is a body of salt water, completely devoid of any aquatic life or vegetation. It is a scar of dead, brackish water in the middle of the Tibetan plateau. Its shores are barren, its waters are notoriously choppy and violent, whipped into a frenzy by the relentless winds that howl across the landscape. The locals will not touch its water. They will not even get close. They believe it is the dwelling place of demons and negative energies. Legend says this is where the 10-headed demon king, Ravana, performed his severe penance to please Lord Shiva. He would stand in the icy water on one leg for years, even severing his own heads one by one as an offering. The lake is therefore imbued with his fierce, aggressive, and ego-driven energy. It is a symbol of darkness, of the destructive forces of the ego, of everything Manasarovar is not. Here you have it. Two lakes practically touching, one a symbol of divine consciousness, the other a symbol of demonic ego. One is round, the other a crescent. One is fresh, the other salt. One is calm and full of life, the other is violent and barren. How is this possible? Geologically, it makes no sense. They are connected by a natural channel, the Ganga Chu. Logic dictates their waters should mix, that they should have a similar composition. But they don't. Science has no definitive explanation for why two adjacent bodies of water, at such a high altitude, would have such radically different salinity and ecology. The thin strip of land separating them is seen by pilgrims as the ultimate spiritual test. It is the razor's edge between good and evil, between enlightenment and ignorance. To walk it is to acknowledge the duality that exists within all of us, the potential for creation and the capacity for destruction, housed within the same being. This perfect, impossible duality, sitting at the foot of a mountain that bends time and scrambles technology, it can't be a coincidence. Feels like a message, a cosmic lesson written into the very fabric of the earth. Are these lakes a product of the same mysterious energy field that emanates from Kailash itself? Is the mountain's power so immense that it can literally separate the forces of light and darkness into two distinct physical bodies of water? The energy that ages a man a decade in a day might also be the energy that purifies water in one lake and poisons it in another. We are looking at a complete, self-contained system of miracles and mysteries, a place that operates under a different set of rules than the rest of our world. We've explored the strange energy on the surface, the bizarre effects on time, and the impossible duality of the lakes below. But all of this only scratches the surface. The greatest and most persistent legend about Mount Kailash has nothing to do with what's on the outside. It's about what lies within. For centuries, ancient texts and modern mystics have claimed the same unbelievable thing: that this solid-looking mountain is actually hollow, and that deep inside its sacred chambers lies a secret that could change the world forever. This isn't just a fringe theory whispered in the dark corners of the internet. The idea of a hollow Kailash, a mountain that is not a mountain at all but a magnificent cosmic structure, is woven into the very fabric of ancient Hindu and Buddhist scriptures. It's a concept so audacious, it forces us to question the nature of reality itself. One of the most powerful accounts comes from the Ramayana, the epic tale of Lord Rama. In it, the 10-headed demon king, Ravana, a being of immense power and ego, becomes obsessed with possessing Kailash. He travels to the mountain, not to climb it, but to unearth it, to physically lift it and carry it back to his kingdom in Lanka as the ultimate trophy. Imagine the scene. A being of almost unimaginable strength, standing at the base of this divine peak. The scriptures say he slid his 20 powerful arms underneath the mountain's foundation and began to lift. The entire universe trembled. The gods panicked. Parvati, Shiva's consort, grew alarmed as the mountain shook. But Shiva, in his deep meditation, simply pressed down with his big toe. Just one toe. The pressure was so immense, so absolute, that it crushed Ravana's arms, trapping him beneath the mountain he sought to steal. He roared in agony, a sound that echoed across the three worlds. For 1,000 years Ravana remained pinned, singing hymns of praise to Shiva until the god, pleased by his devotion, finally released him. Now on the surface, this is a story about the supreme power of a god over a prideful demon. But esoteric traditions ask a different question. Why did Ravana want to move the mountain? Was he just after a piece of real estate? Or was he trying to capture what was inside it? The text described Kailash not just as a home, but as a cosmic pillar, an axis mundi that connects the earthly realm to the celestial. By taking the mountain, Ravana would have been taking control of this gateway. He wasn't just trying to move rock and ice. He was trying to steal a portal, to seize the kingdom of the gods that was believed to exist within its sacred shell. This idea of an interior world is echoed in the concept of Shambhala, or as it's known in Hindu texts, Jayangansh. This is the fabled kingdom of enlightened masters, a realm of perfect peace and unbelievable spiritual and technological advancement, hidden from the eyes of the profane world. For millennia, seekers and mystics have claimed that this legendary kingdom is not in some other dimension, but is a physical place, concealed deep within the Himalayas. And its primary entrance, its most sacred gateway, is said to be located within Mount Kailash. According to these beliefs, the mountain we see is merely a facade, a divine cloaking device. Inside is a world free from time, disease, and decay, a library of cosmic knowledge, a sanctuary for beings who have transcended the limitations of human existence. They are the true guardians of Kailash, and it is their power, a psychic and technological barrier, that prevents anyone from scaling the peak or even approaching it with ill intent. The strange accidents, the sudden storms, the disorienting confusion felt by climbers, are these just natural phenomena? Or are they the workings of a highly advanced, ancient defense system designed to protect a secret world from a civilization that is not yet ready for its truths? For centuries, these ideas were confined to ancient texts and spiritual folklore. They were matters of faith, not science. But then, in 1999, everything changed. A team of Russian scientists, led by an ophthalmologist and controversial researcher named Dr. Ernst Moldashev, traveled to Tibet to study Kailash. What they reported sent shockwaves through both the scientific and mystical communities. After months of study, surveying, and speaking with local lamas, Moldashev put forth a mind-bending hypothesis. Mount Kailash is not a natural mountain at all. He claimed it is an ancient, man-made pyramid, a colossal structure built by an unknown, highly advanced civilization. Moldashev argued that the mountain's features were too perfect, too geometrically precise, to be the result of natural erosion. He described its faces as being aligned almost perfectly with the cardinal directions. He pointed to the layers of rock, suggesting they were not sedimentary strata, but constructed from some unknown form of ancient concrete. His team calculated the height of Kailash to be approximately 6,666 meters. They noted its strange position, geographically linked to other ancient monuments like the pyramids of Giza and Stonehenge, suggesting it was the central point of a global system of sacred sites. But his most startling claims were about what lay inside this alleged pyramid. Based on his research and interpretations of Tibetan legends, Moldashev proposed that the interior of Kailash is hollow and contains chambers of immense significance. He theorized that these chambers hold beings from previous civilizations, the Atlanteans, the Lemurians, in a state of suspended animation, or deep samadhi. He called Kailash a sarcophagus, a divine vault preserving the genetic code, the very blueprint of humanity and all life on Earth, waiting for a time when the world might need to be repopulated after a global cataclysm. It sounds like science fiction, but Moldashev was convinced he was on the verge of the greatest discovery in human history. His team also documented a phenomenon they called the stone mirrors. These are the massive concave rock faces that curve around the mountain. Tibetan lamas told them these were not natural formations. They were known as the mirrors of the Yama, the god of death. The Russians theorized that these giant, curved surfaces have the ability to bend and manipulate time and space. They believed this was the source of the rapid aging stories, that by entering the field generated by these mirrors, a person's biological clock could be accelerated or even reversed. They proposed that it was a complex energy system, a temporal weapon, that served as another layer of the mountain's defense, warping reality itself to deter intruders. The Russian team, emboldened by their theories, wanted to go further. They identified what they believed could be an entrance, a potential doorway into the hollow interior of the mountain. They spoke with a lama who warned them in no uncertain terms. He told them, "You may enter the abode of the wise, but you will never leave." He spoke of the sons of the secret knowledge, the guardians within, who would not permit entry. He said that those who try to violate the sacred space have their minds twisted, losing themselves in a maze of distorted time from which there is no escape. The scientists, despite their modern equipment and rational minds, felt a palpable, unnerving energy around the mountain. They described a strange, rhythmic humming sound coming from within the rock itself, almost like a massive machine in operation. They were faced with a choice: to dismiss the ancient warnings as superstition and risk their lives for a world-changing discovery, or to heed the wisdom of millennia and turn back. The secrets of a hollow world, the legacy of lost civilizations, and the very source code of life were supposedly just beyond a wall of rock. And something inside was telling them not to knock. That feeling, that primal warning, wasn't just in their heads. It was a vibration in the air, a pressure against their eardrums, a silent scream from the very rock they stood on. The mountain wasn't just a geological formation. It was a sentinel, and it had just noticed them. This is the story, whispered in hushed tones from Moscow to the Himalayas, of the Soviet expedition that dared to do more than just look. They brought science, they brought equipment, and they brought a Cold War ambition to unlock a power that could change the world. They wanted to know what was inside. The official records are, of course, sealed. But the accounts that have leaked out over the decades paint a chilling picture. Led by geologists and physicists, backed by the full might of the Soviet state, this wasn't a spiritual pilgrimage. It was a strategic operation. They weren't there to pray. They were there to scan, to drill, to conquer. Using ground-penetrating radar and seismic sensors, technologies that were cutting edge for their time, they began to map the mountain's interior from a safe distance. What they found defied all known laws of geology. Mountains aren't supposed to be organized. They are chaotic jumbles of rock, thrust up by tectonic violence over millions of years. But the signals bouncing back from deep within Kailash showed something else entirely. They showed structure. Voids. Immense, cavernous spaces arranged with an unnatural symmetry. They detected what appeared to be massive, geometrically perfect chambers, connected by passages that were too straight, too uniform to be lava tubes or natural caves. It was as if their scanners were looking at the blueprint of a cathedral, not the guts of a mountain. The team was stunned. The readings suggested Kailash wasn't a mountain at all. It was a shell, a colossal man-made pyramid, eroded by millennia but with its core structure still perfectly intact. This discovery changed everything. The mission was no longer about geology, it was about archaeology on a scale humanity had never conceived. A small, elite team of mountaineers was given the green light to attempt a direct ascent, not to the summit, but to a specific point on the mountain's face where the scans indicated a possible entrance, a weak point in the structure. They were to get as close as possible, plant more sensitive sensors, and confirm the existence of the internal voids. As they began their climb, the strangeness intensified. Compasses spun wildly, not just pointing north or south, but rotating in useless circles. Their electronic equipment flickered and died. The climbers reported intense, debilitating headaches, a constant ringing in their ears, and a profound sense of nausea. But most disturbing was the psychological effect. They felt a crushing, irrational fear. A sense of being watched, judged, and rejected by an unseen intelligence. The air itself felt hostile, charged with an energy that was actively pushing them away. Ignoring the warnings from their own bodies and the pleas of the local guides who refused to go a step further, they pushed on, driven by orders from thousands of miles away. They reached an altitude of just over 18,000 feet, still far from the summit, but close to their target location. And that's when it happened. They didn't see a monster. They didn't find a golden door. The mountain didn't shake. Something far more terrifying occurred. Time itself began to unravel. The men who returned to base camp just hours later were almost unrecognizable. Their faces were lined with new, deep wrinkles. Their hair, once dark, was streaked with gray. Their beards had grown by what seemed like weeks in a single afternoon. They were exhausted, not with the fatigue of a day's climb, but with the bone-deep weariness of old age. Back at their research facility, the mission's doctors were horrified. The climbers' biological markers, their cellular age, had advanced by an estimated 2 to 3 decades. Their fingernails and hair continued to grow at an accelerated rate. It was as if they had stepped into a localized field, an invisible bubble around the mountain where the river of time flows not as a gentle stream, but as a raging waterfall. Within a year, all members of that climbing party died, not from accidents or disease, but from the simple, horrifying affliction of old age. The Soviet project was immediately and secretly shut down. The findings were buried so deep in the state archives they became the stuff of legend. But the core of the story remains, a terrifying testament to the mountain's power. Kailash, the theorists now argue, is surrounded by a zone of accelerated time. This isn't a spiritual curse meant to deter the faithful. It's a physical property, a defense mechanism. It's why no one can climb it. You don't die from falling off the mountain. You die from the mountain literally fast-forwarding your life to its end. What could cause such a bizarre, physics-defying phenomenon? The answer may lie in another of the mountain's titles, the axis Mundi, the world axis. Ancient cultures all over the globe believed in a central point, a cosmic pillar that connects the earth to the heavens. The Mayans had the world tree, the Greeks had Mount Olympus, the Norse had Yggdrasil. What if this isn't just a metaphor? What if Kailash is the literal terrestrial anchor point for a higher dimension? A place where the fabric of space-time is thin, where the laws of our reality are warped and twisted by forces we cannot comprehend. Some physicists have speculated about immense, naturally occurring magnetic or gravitational anomalies that could, in theory, distort the flow of time. Kailash, with its unique location and composition, could be the epicenter of such an anomaly. This brings us back to the most mind-bending theory of all, that Mount Kailash is not a mountain. It is a machine, a pyramid built with impossible technology, whose 4 faces are aligned almost perfectly with the cardinal directions, just like the Great Pyramids of Giza. But while Giza's pyramids are tombs for dead pharaohs, many believe Kailash is a vessel for a living god, or something far more complex. A power generator, a cosmic transmitter, a device of unimaginable purpose, humming with a silent energy that warps time and repels all intruders. If it is a machine, who were the builders? The ancient texts say it was the gods themselves. Modern theorists, looking at the sheer scale of it, wonder if it was a forgotten human civilization with technology far beyond our own, or perhaps a civilization that wasn't human at all. The evidence, they say, is right there at the mountain's base. 2 lakes side by side, yet impossibly different. To the south, the holy lake Manasarovar, the lake of consciousness. It's a freshwater lake, round like the sun, renowned for its serene, calming energy. Pilgrims have bathed in its waters for thousands of years, seeking spiritual purification. But right next to it, separated by only a thin isthmus of land, is Rakshas-Tal, the lake of the demon. It's a saltwater lake, shaped like a crescent moon, and its waters are considered toxic and turbulent. No plants grow on its shores, and locals believe a malevolent energy emanates from its depths. Light and dark, sun and moon, fresh water and salt water, positive and negative. These aren't just 2 lakes. They are a duality, polarity. They are the twin terminals of a cosmic battery, and the pyramid of Mount Kailash is the engine they are meant to power. The question, then, is no longer just what is inside the mountain. The real question is, what is this machine's purpose? And what happens when it's finally switched on? To understand the machine's purpose, we first have to understand its power source. An engine of this scale, a device capable of influencing the entire planet, would require an energy source beyond our wildest comprehension. And according to a growing number of researchers, that energy is all around us. It's in the very fabric of space and time, and Mount Kailash is not just a machine. It's the ultimate antenna, designed to harness it. Think about the strange reports from the region. The accelerated aging, where a day spent near the mountain is said to equal a week of normal time. Hair and fingernails growing at an astonishing rate. These aren't just random mountain myths. They are classic symptoms of a localized distortion in the flow of time. Then there are the navigational instruments. Compasses don't just point north. They spin erratically, as if caught in a magnetic vortex. GPS systems fail. Electronics flicker and die. This is not normal geology. This is the signature of an immense and unusual energy field. The machine may be dormant, but it's not dead. It's in standby mode, and we're detecting the low hum of its sleeping systems. So what is this energy? It's not electricity as we know it. It's not nuclear. Russian scientists who have studied Kailash extensively have a name for it: torsion fields. This is a concept that exists on the very edge of mainstream science, but it's one that perfectly explains the phenomena around the holy mountain. Torsion fields, in theory, are generated by the spin and angular momentum of matter. They are subtle, spiraling waves that don't transmit energy in the conventional sense, but rather transmit information through the fabric of space-time itself. They are believed to be the missing link between consciousness and the physical world. And what is the most efficient way to generate a powerful, stable torsion field? A pyramid. The geometric precision of a pyramid, its specific angles and orientation, acts like a focusing lens for these cosmic energies. Russian physicist Dr. Nikolai Kozyrev theorized that time itself is a form of energy, and that it flows into our world from the cosmos. He believed that certain geometric structures could act as conduits, concentrating this temporal energy. Mount Kailash, the world's largest and most symmetrical pyramid, would therefore be the world's most powerful torsion field generator. It's not just sitting on the ground. Its shape is actively pulling in and concentrating the energy of space-time. The accelerated aging isn't a curse. It's a side effect. It's what happens when you stand too close to the engine of time itself. But the theory goes even deeper. Kailash isn't a standalone device. It's the central processing unit of a vast planetary-wide system. Imagine a global wireless energy grid built by an ancient, hyper-advanced civilization. Now look at a map. Draw a line from Mount Kailash to the pyramids of Giza in Egypt. The distance is almost exactly 6,666 kilometers. Now draw a line from Kailash to Stonehenge in England. 6,666 kilometers. From Kailash to the North Pole, 6,666 kilometers. To the South Pole, exactly twice that distance, 13,332 kilometers. This number, 6666, appears over and over again. The height of Mount Kailash itself is cited as 6,666 meters. Coincidence? Or is this the blueprint of a planetary machine? Are these sacred sites, the pyramids of Egypt, the stone circles of Europe, the mysterious statues of Easter Island, all part of the same network? Are they nodes, amplifiers, and relay stations in a system of unimaginable power, with Kailash as its central hub? This theory suggests that our planet was once wired with a technology that could manipulate physical reality, a technology powered by the very geometry of the cosmos, a technology that has since been lost or perhaps deliberately shut down. And this brings us back to Lord Shiva. If Kailash is the machine, then Shiva is its operator. The ancient texts aren't just stories. They are allegorical descriptions of this technology in action. Consider Shiva's title, the Destroyer. We think of destruction as chaos, as an end. But in physics and in Hindu cosmology, destruction is never an end. It is transformation. Energy cannot be created or destroyed, only changed from one form to another. Shiva isn't a god of annihilation. He is a god of cosmic recycling. He is the one who presides over the dissolution of the universe at the end of each cosmic cycle, or yuga, only to pave the way for a new creation. What if this isn't a metaphor? What if it's a job description? The Tandava, Shiva's cosmic dance, is said to be the dance that destroys a weary universe to make way for a new one. Is it possible that the Tandava is a highly technical process, a sequence of operations performed through the Kailash machine? A cosmic reboot sequence that literally rewrites reality? Shiva, sitting in deep meditation within the mountain, isn't just sitting still. He is interfacing with the machine, his consciousness connected to the planetary grid. His legendary third eye, the eye of profound insight, isn't just a symbol. It's the user interface. It's the command prompt for a technology that treats space, time, and consciousness as programmable code. If this is true, then the purpose of the Kailash machine is the grandest one imaginable. It is a device for managing reality itself. Let's explore the possibilities. First, the most direct interpretation, the cosmic reset button. According to Hindu scriptures, we are currently living in the Kali Yuga, the age of darkness and decline. It is the final, most degraded of the four ages. At its end, Shiva will perform his dance and bring the cycle to a close, ushering in a new Satya Yuga, a new golden age of truth. The Kailash machine could be the instrument of this change. It's a planetary-scale degausser, designed to wipe the slate clean, to dissolve the old, corrupted timeline and initiate a fresh one. It doesn't destroy the world. It reformats the hard drive of existence. Second, a more spiritual purpose, the soul ascension engine. The ultimate goal in Hinduism is moksha, liberation from the endless cycle of reincarnation. What if Kailash is a spiritual broadcast tower? A machine that generates a specific frequency, a vibration that helps souls achieve this liberation. The immense spiritual energy people feel there isn't just a feeling. It's a measurable field designed to elevate consciousness. In this model, Shiva is the gatekeeper of enlightenment, and Kailash is his gate. It's a tool to help consciousness evolve, a spiritual ladder that allows souls to climb out of the material world and return to the source. And third, a more chilling possibility, the planetary defense system. We view our world as the center of everything, but in the vastness of the cosmos, we may be incredibly vulnerable. Ancient texts from all over the world speak of great wars in the heavens, of gods battling demons, of cosmic threats that endangered all of creation. What if Kailash is a weapon, a shield, a deterrent? A device capable of manipulating space-time would be the ultimate defense. It could create impenetrable energy shields, warp space to deflect incoming threats, or even target aggressors across galaxies. Shiva, in this scenario, isn't just a meditating ascetic. He's the silent guardian, the commander of a planetary defense station, waiting for a threat that last appeared millennia ago. A cosmic reset, a soul elevator, a planetary shield. Three staggering possibilities, each one changing our understanding of history, religion, and our place in the universe. The machine's purpose defines its power. But all of this remains a theory unless we can find some kind of proof, a key to unlock this ancient secret. The skeptics are right to demand evidence. But what if the evidence has been staring us in the face all along? What if the ancient scriptures, the Vedas and the Puranas, are not just books of prayer and myth? What if they are something more? What if they are the technical manuals for the most advanced technology in the history of this world, written in a symbolic language we've long since forgotten how to read? And what if somewhere, someone is finally starting to translate them? That question, whether someone is finally translating these ancient blueprints, hangs in the air like the thin, cold atmosphere of the Himalayas. And the answer is yes, but not in the way you might think. The translation isn't happening in a dusty library, with scholars hunched over brittle scrolls. It's happening in particle accelerators. It's happening in quantum physics labs. It's happening as our most advanced science begins to draw a map that looks eerily, impossibly similar to the one drawn by ancient mystics thousands of years ago. Modern science isn't translating the words. It's finally beginning to understand the physics the words were trying to describe. And the epicenter of that physics, the place where the theory meets a terrifying reality, is Mount Kailash. Because when you get close to this mountain, something happens that defies all known conventional science. It's a phenomenon whispered about by pilgrims and documented by the few explorers who have dared to venture near its forbidden slopes. Time itself begins to warp. Think about that. The steady, reliable, ticking clock of our lives, the one constant we all share, becomes unstable. Locals and mountaineers have reported a bizarrely accelerated rate of growth. Hair and fingernails that would normally take a week to grow seem to sprout in a matter of hours. A 12-hour period spent in the vicinity of the mountain has been anecdotally compared to the aging process of 2 full weeks. It's as if the mountain is surrounded by a field that fast-forwards biological processes. This isn't just a spooky campfire story. It's one of the primary reasons why climbing Kailash is considered impossible, beyond even the spiritual prohibitions. People who have spent even a short amount of time in the area feel an inexplicable drain, a profound and rapid aging that saps their strength and their will. It's a biological time dilation. According to Einstein's theory of relativity, time can be bent by gravity and speed. The closer you are to a massive gravitational source, or the faster you travel, the slower time passes for you relative to a stationary observer. But at Kailash, the opposite seems to happen. Time speeds up. What could possibly cause such a localized temporal anomaly? Is this a natural phenomenon we just don't understand? Or is this the byproduct of a technology so advanced, it manipulates the very fabric of space-time? Is this a warning? A defense mechanism? A perimeter fence made of time itself, designed to keep the unworthy, the unprepared, away from the core of the machine? This leads us to an even bigger, more mind-bending concept: the idea of the axis mundi, or the world's axis. In countless ancient cultures, there is a myth of a sacred mountain, a tree, or a pillar that sits at the center of the world, connecting the heavens, the earth, and the underworld. The Vikings had Yggdrasil, the Greeks had Mount Olympus. But many researchers believe these aren't just separate myths. They are different cultural interpretations of a single global truth. And many point to Kailash as the physical location of this cosmic pillar. Now, hold on, because this is where the map of the ancient world gets truly incredible. If you take Mount Kailash as the center point of the globe, you will find that a shocking number of the world's most enigmatic and sacred sites are located at precise, mathematically significant distances from it. Go exactly 6,666 kilometers from Kailash, and you hit the megalithic circles of Stonehenge in England. Go the same distance in another direction, and you find yourself at the North Pole. The distance to the South Pole? Exactly twice that, 13,332 kilometers. The pattern doesn't stop. The pyramids of Giza, the mysterious lines of Teotihuacan in Mexico, the silent stone heads of Easter Island, they all appear to be part of a vast geometric grid, a planetary matrix, with Kailash as its central power station. It's as if the entire planet was surveyed and engineered by a single hyper-advanced intelligence, which placed these monumental structures as nodes in a global energy network. A network that channels the very life force of the planet. And if these other sites are the substations and transformers, then Kailash. Kailash is the reactor core, the place where the energy is generated, regulated, and distributed. This isn't just a mountain. It's the heart of a living, breathing planetary machine. And every great power source needs a system of regulation. It needs a positive and a negative terminal. Just south of the mountain's base lies one of the most striking and symbolic landscapes on Earth. Two mystical lakes sitting side by side, yet existing as polar opposites. The first is Lake Manasarovar. It is one of the highest freshwater lakes in the world, a perfect circle of impossibly turquoise water that is legendarily calm and serene, regardless of the weather conditions around it. Pilgrims believe its waters can wash away the sins of a lifetime. It is a symbol of light, purity, and the sun. It is a place of profound peace. Right next to it, separated by only a thin isthmus of land, is its dark twin, Lake Rakshas-Tal. This lake is crescent-shaped, like a sliver of a dark moon. Its waters are saline and completely devoid of life. And while Manasarovar is eternally calm, Rakshas-Tal is known for its violent, unpredictable storms that can whip its waters into a frenzy in minutes. It is known as the Lake of the Demon, a place of darkness and chaos, a freshwater lake of light, and a saltwater lake of darkness, a circle and a crescent, the sun and the moon, positive and negative. They are a perfect representation of duality, sitting at the foot of the ultimate symbol of non-duality, Shiva himself. Are these just geological quirks? Or are they something more? Are they a part of the mountain's machinery? A cosmic balancing system? The positive and negative terminals of this great terrestrial battery, regulating the immense flow of energy that pulses from the axis mundi? This idea of Kailash as a giant engineered structure was taken from the realm of myth into scientific inquiry by a man who was, by all accounts, a mainstream and respected scientist. Dr. Ernst Muldashev, a world-renowned Russian ophthalmologist and explorer, led a team of geologists, physicists, and mountaineering experts on an expedition to Tibet in 1999. What he concluded was so radical, it sent shockwaves through both the scientific and spiritual communities. After extensive observation and analysis of the mountain's geology, its strangely symmetrical, layered slopes, its sheer, almost perfectly flat faces oriented to the cardinal directions, Muldashev and his team came to a staggering conclusion. Mount Kailash was not a natural mountain. It was, he claimed, a colossal man-made pyramid, eroded by millennia of wind and ice, but a pyramid nonetheless. He theorized it was the central hub in a global system of pyramids, all interconnected, and that its internal structure was hollow, containing secrets beyond our wildest imagination. Muldashev's team used scientific instruments to map the mountain, and they claimed to have identified voids and cavities deep within it. He proposed that these were not just empty spaces but chambers. And inside these chambers, he believed, were the sarcophagi of the ancient progenitors of humanity, beings from a long-lost civilization, perhaps not even from this planet, preserved in a state of deep, suspended animation called samadhi. They are not dead, he argued, but waiting for a time when humanity is ready for the knowledge they hold. This, he claimed, is the true secret of Kailash. It is not just the abode of a god. It is a library of consciousness, a vault containing the original architects of our world. So we are left with a convergence of evidence that is almost too fantastic to believe, yet too persistent to ignore. A mountain that warps time, a geographic nexus point for every major sacred site on the planet, a landscape that mirrors a perfect energy circuit, and a scientific theory that claims it's all part of an ancient artificial construction. We are no longer just asking if Kailash is a holy place. We are now forced to ask a much more unsettling question. If it is a machine, a pyramid, a tomb, a power station, who or what turned it on? And is it possible that after all these eons its creators are still inside? This question hangs in the thin, cold air of the Himalayas, a question so profound it reframes everything we thought we knew. If Kailash is a construct, then it had constructors, and if it's still active, then it might just have occupants. This is where the path of scientific inquiry ends, and the trail of esoteric legend begins. For millennia, the people of this region have spoken of guardians, powerful beings who protect the sacred mountain from the unworthy. The most famous of these are the Yeti, the so-called abominable snowmen. Western explorers have long dismissed them as folklore, a misidentification of bears or a figment of oxygen-starved imaginations. But to the Lamas and Sherpas, the Yeti are very real. They are not simply undiscovered apes. They are described as fierce protectors of the Dharma, spiritual sentinels of the sacred valleys. Could these creatures be more than just myth? Could they be a biological security system, a first line of defense for whatever or whoever resides within Kailash? Think about it. Every ancient sacred site of immense power, from the pyramids of Giza to the temples of the Maya, has stories of curses and guardians protecting them. But at Kailash, the guardians are said to be alive, patrolling the snows. The stories aren't just ancient, they are contemporary. Climbers and monks have reported strange, humanoid tracks, heard guttural cries echoing in the valleys, and felt an overwhelming sense of being watched by an unseen intelligence. Is it possible that the creators of this place left behind something to ensure their sanctum would remain undisturbed? But the legends go deeper than just physical guardians on the outside. They speak of what lies on the inside. Tibetan Buddhist scriptures talk of a hidden kingdom, a paradise of perfect beings, known as Shambhala. It's said to be a realm of peace and immense wisdom, concealed from the outside world, accessible only to those of pure heart. Many ancient texts place the entrance to Shambhala somewhere in the high Himalayas, with some traditions pointing directly to the Kailash region. The same is true for the Hindu and Jain concept of Agartha, a subterranean civilization of highly evolved beings who inhabit the center of the earth. Could Mount Kailash be more than a mountain? Could it be a doorway? An access point to an entirely different realm of existence, hidden just beneath our feet or perhaps just beyond our perception? This sounds like science fiction, but it's a belief held by millions. The Puranas, ancient Hindu texts, describe vast, intricate cities of the gods located deep within and around the Himalayas. They weren't speaking metaphorically. They were describing a physical place, a home for beings of immense power. This leads us to the most incredible, and perhaps the most plausible explanation of all, an idea that ties together the pyramid shape, the axis mundi theory, the time dilation, and the legends of powerful beings. What if the gods were not gods at all? What if they were simply beings with a technology so advanced, it was indistinguishable from magic? This is the core of the ancient astronaut theory. It posits that thousands of years ago, Earth was visited by an extraterrestrial race, a race that was instrumental in the development of human civilization, a race that was remembered and worshipped as gods. In this context, Lord Shiva is not a deity of myth, but an incredibly powerful flesh and blood being from another world. His third eye wasn't a mystical organ, but perhaps an advanced optical device, a targeting system, or a neural interface. His trident, the Trishula, wasn't just a spear, but a weapon of unimaginable power. His flying chariot, described in the texts, was a spacecraft. And Mount Kailash was his base of operations. His home, a command center. Look at the evidence through this lens. The mountain is a perfect four-sided pyramid, a geometric shape that screams artificial construction. It's located at a nexus of planetary energy, the perfect place to build a power plant or a communications array. The strange reports of accelerated time and hair growth could be the side effects of a powerful energy field still emanating from the dormant technology within. The lakes of Manasarovar and Rakshas-Tal, with their starkly different energies and shapes, could be part of a massive hydroengineering or energy balancing system. And the refusal of the mountain to be climbed suddenly makes perfect sense. It's not a spiritual barrier, it's a technological one, a defense system, a subtle energy field that disorients climbers, causes equipment to fail, and instills a sense of overwhelming dread, forcing them to turn back. It's the most elegant security system imaginable, one that doesn't need walls or guards, but simply convinces intruders to leave of their own accord. The ancient Sanskrit texts of India, like the Mahabharata and the Ramayana, are filled with stunningly detailed descriptions of what can only be interpreted as advanced technology. They speak of vimanas, flying craft that could travel through the air, into space, and even underwater. They describe weapons of mass destruction, the Brahmastra, that sound eerily similar to nuclear devices, capable of wiping out entire armies and leaving the land barren for decades. Where did the authors of these thousands of years old texts get these ideas? Were they just gifted storytellers with incredible imaginations? Or were they chronicling real events, describing technology they witnessed but could not possibly understand? If this latter case is true, then Mount Kailash isn't just a holy place. It is an artifact, the single greatest piece of alien technology left on planet Earth. A silent, sleeping giant waiting for its masters to return. This recontextualizes everything. The pilgrimages, the prayers, the devotion. It's all a form of ancestral memory, a deeply ingrained cultural echo of a time when our creators walked among us. The Hindus who circle the mountain are not just performing a ritual, they are paying homage at the abandoned citadel of their gods. The Buddhists who see it as the home of Demchog are recalling a powerful being who brought wisdom and enlightenment, perhaps in the form of technology or genetic uplift. So, if the creators are still inside, they may not be ethereal spirits. They could be beings in suspended animation, waiting for a specific cosmic alignment or a signal to awaken. Or perhaps the mountain is entirely automated, a self-sustaining machine running on a millennia-long program. The legends of Shiva meditating inside could be a folk interpretation of a being in a stasis pod, connected to the mountain's central computer. This theory, as wild as it sounds, provides a single unified explanation for a dozen disconnected mysteries. It accounts for the mountain's perfect geometry, its bizarre location, the strange energy fields, the unclimbable nature, and the persistent cross-cultural myths of powerful beings who live there. It suggests we are not alone, and that the proof has been hiding in plain sight this whole time, disguised as a mountain, revered as a god. But it also raises a terrifying new set of questions. If Kailash is a machine, what is its ultimate purpose? Is it a beacon meant to guide its creators back to Earth? Is it a weapon, a planetary defense system lying dormant? Or is it a terraforming device, slowly and subtly influencing the planet's climate and magnetic fields? And if the beings who built it are still here, or are on their way back, what will they think of what we have become? Have we lived up to their expectations, or have we proven ourselves to be a failed experiment? The answers may lie buried under miles of rock and ice, in the silent humming heart of the world's most sacred and forbidden mountain. This silent humming heart, what is it? For centuries, pilgrims and mystics have reported hearing a low, resonant frequency emanating from deep within Kailash. The sound of Om, the primordial vibration from which all of creation is said to have emerged. Science might dismiss this as tinnitus at high altitude, or the sound of wind whistling through rock crevasses. But the reports are too consistent, too specific. They describe a deep internal hum, the kind of sound you feel in your bones more than you hear with your ears. What if it's not a spiritual metaphor? What if it's the sound of a machine, an ancient, impossibly advanced technology, dormant but not dead, humming with latent power beneath a shell of rock and ice? This idea transforms Kailash from a mere mountain into something else entirely. It becomes a construct, a piece of architecture on a planetary scale. And when you start looking at it that way, the pieces begin to fall into place with an unnerving click. Think about the Great Pyramid of Giza, a man-made wonder, shrouded in mystery, aligned with cosmic precision. Now look at Mount Kailash. Its four sheer faces align almost perfectly with the cardinal directions. Its summit is a stark, symmetrical peak. The geometry is too deliberate, too intelligent to be a mere coincidence of erosion. Geologists offer explanations, of course, a unique type of rock formation called a laccolith, weathered by millennia of wind and ice. But others, looking at the sheer, uncanny perfection of its form, ask a different question. Is it a mountain that happens to look like a pyramid? Or is it a pyramid so unfathomably ancient that it has been weathered to look like a mountain? The connections become even more chilling when you look at the numbers. The distance from the Great Pyramid of Giza to Mount Kailash is said to be 6,666 kilometers. An eerie coincidence, perhaps. The distance from Kailash to Stonehenge is also reported to be 6,666 kilometers. And from Kailash to the North Pole? You guessed it, 6,666 kilometers. Now, are these measurements exact down to the last meter? It depends on the precise points you use. But the fact that these major centers of power and mystery, both ancient and planetary, fall into such a bizarrely patterned alignment with Kailash at their center is, at the very least, deeply strange. It suggests a global grid, a network of power points with Kailash as its central hub, the axis Mundi, the pillar of the world, not as a myth, but as a literal geographic and perhaps energetic reality, a central processing unit for the entire planet. But if Kailash is a machine, a power plant, or a cosmic antenna, then like any powerful technology, it would likely have side effects, unintended consequences. And this is where the story takes a turn from the mysterious to the truly terrifying. Reports, whispered in hushed tones by locals and the few adventurers who dared to venture too close, speak of a strange and disturbing phenomenon. Time itself seems to behave differently here. The most famous account, now a fixture of Kailash lore, tells of a group of Siberian climbers who, in the 1990s, allegedly trespassed into a forbidden valley near the mountain's base. According to the legend, after just a few hours in this zone, they noticed their beards had grown as if days had passed. Their hair and fingernails had accelerated in growth. They felt a profound and unnatural fatigue. The story claims that upon their return to civilization, they had aged decades in a matter of weeks, and all died of causes related to old age within a year or two. Is this a campfire story embellished over time? Almost certainly. There's no hard evidence to substantiate it. But it is the most extreme example of a phenomenon that is reported again and again in more subtle ways. Pilgrims who complete the 3-day trek around the mountain often speak of feeling an unusual sense of temporal displacement, of time feeling thick or slow. Scientists would rightly point out that the human body ages faster under extreme stress. The low oxygen, brutal cold, and intense UV radiation at 18,000 feet are a recipe for rapid cellular decay. This is a known biological fact. So, is the rapid aging of Kailash simply the brutal, concentrated effect of its extreme environment? Or is it evidence of something far more profound? Einstein's theory of relativity tells us that time is not a constant. It is relative, and it can be warped by gravity. A powerful gravitational field can literally slow down time. This is a proven fact of our universe. So, what if the humming heart of Kailash is not just a geological anomaly? What if it's a source of immense energy, a concentration of mass and power so great that it generates a localized gravitational field, a bubble where the fabric of space-time itself is distorted, where an hour spent too close to the source is the equivalent of a day, a week, or more in the outside world? You wouldn't be climbing a mountain. You would be entering a temporal anomaly, a place where the fundamental laws of physics, as we understand them, begin to fray at the edges. This brings us to the ultimate prohibition. Why can no one climb Mount Kailash? We've talked about the spiritual reasons, that it is the sacred abode of a god, and to set foot on its summit would be the ultimate act of desecration. We've talked about the political reasons, the official ban by the Chinese government. But there is a third, more unsettling reason, one that underpins all the others. The mountain defends itself. Every single attempt to conquer its peak has ended in failure, not just because of bad luck, but because of a series of inexplicable, almost intelligent interventions. Reinhold Messner, arguably the greatest mountaineer in history, was given permission to climb it in the 1980s. He stood at its base, looked up, and turned back, saying the mountain was not to be climbed. He felt a power there, a presence that told him to go no further. Russian climber Sergei Sistyakov reported that as he and his team began their ascent, they felt a sudden, overwhelming sense of dread. Their hearts began to beat uncontrollably. They felt as if an unseen force was pushing them back, telling them they were unwelcome. They turned around immediately, stating that they felt if they had taken one more step, they would have died instantly. Others tell of bizarre equipment malfunctions that happen only when they approach the mountain. Compasses spin wildly. GPS systems fail. Satellite phones go dead. The weather, notoriously unpredictable in the Himalayas, is said to become actively hostile, with clear skies turning into a blinding blizzard in minutes, but only on the direct path of a climbing party. It's as if the mountain has an immune system, and any attempt to breach its sanctity is treated as a virus to be neutralized. Climbers become hopelessly lost on paths they knew moments before. They are plagued by terrifying visions and a crippling sense of being watched. All of these phenomena, the disorienting energy, the accelerated time, the impossible geometry, the deep, resonant hum, they aren't just individual mysteries. They are components of a single, unified system, a defense mechanism, a lock on a cosmic vault. It's not just a mountain, it's a fortress. It is actively and successfully repelling all attempts to discover what lies at its core. The ultimate question we must now face, as we stand at the precipice of our final understanding, is not just what is being protected inside this fortress. The real question is, what is it being protected from? Is it designed to keep something powerful and dangerous locked safely inside? Or is its purpose far more humbling? Is it designed to keep us, our ambition, our arrogance, and our destructive nature safely locked out? As we look at our world, at the path our civilization has taken, we have to wonder, maybe the greatest secret of Mount Kailash is that its final test isn't about climbing its slopes. It's about proving we are worthy of the answers it holds. And what does it mean for a civilization to be worthy? It's a question that cuts to the very core of our existence. We've split the atom, we've mapped the human genome, we've sent probes to the edge of our solar system. We have accumulated knowledge and power at a rate that would seem godlike to our ancestors. Yet, with all this power, have we gained wisdom? With all this knowledge, have we found peace? Or have we just found more sophisticated ways to wage war, to pollute our planet, and to distract ourselves from the emptiness that gnaws at the heart of modern life? Mount Kailash stands as a silent judge, a mirror reflecting our own collective soul. Perhaps the reason every attempt to conquer it has been met with such bizarre and insurmountable resistance is because the mountain is reflecting the very nature of the attempt itself. When expeditions approach with the energy of conquest, of ego, of planting a flag and claiming a prize, the mountain responds in kind. It projects back that chaotic, aggressive energy, manifesting as disorienting time shifts, sudden, unnatural storms, and an overwhelming sense of dread that forces a retreat. The mountain isn't attacking. It's showing us our own reflection, and we are terrified by what we see. Conversely, the pilgrims who approach with humility, with reverence, with a desire not to take but to receive, they experience something entirely different. They speak of profound peace, of spiritual clarity, of a connection to something ancient and powerful. They walk the Kora not to conquer the mountain but to conquer the self. They are not trying to break down the door. They are respectfully asking to be let in. And in a way they are. They may not reach the summit, but they touch the essence of what Kailash represents. This duality is the very essence of Lord Shiva. He is the destroyer but also the creator. He is the fearsome ascetic, but also the loving husband and father. He represents the cosmic dance of destruction and renewal, the endless cycle that governs the universe. Our current age, what the Vedic texts call the Kali Yuga, is characterized by spiritual darkness and material obsession. We are a civilization teetering on a knife's edge, capable of creating a paradise on earth or annihilating ourselves completely. Could it be that Mount Kailash is the epicenter of this cosmic choice? The still point in the turning world, where the potential for both creation and destruction is held in perfect, terrifying balance. It waits. It watches. It sees us developing artificial intelligence, tampering with the building blocks of life and reaching for the stars, and it poses a silent question. Will you use this power to ascend to a new level of consciousness, or will you become the architects of your own destruction? Will your next dance be one of creation, or the Tandava of annihilation? Imagine for a moment that the legends are more literal than we think. Imagine that Kailash is not just a mountain of rock and ice. What if it is a repository, an ancient, organic, impossibly advanced server, a cosmic hard drive containing the blueprint of life, the history of the universe, the secrets of consciousness itself. All the knowledge we could ever dream of locked away inside. But this isn't a library you can access with a lockpick or a battering ram. Climbing the mountain to get the data is like trying to access the internet by smashing your computer with a hammer. It's a category error. The attempt itself demonstrates a fundamental misunderstanding of the system. The system is not physical. It's vibrational. It's conscious. The access key, the password to this cosmic database, isn't a piece of technology. It is a state of being. It is a level of collective spiritual maturity. It requires a civilization to operate on a frequency of harmony, compassion, and wisdom, not one of greed, conflict, and ego. We can't hack the system. We have to become compatible with it. This is why the science as we know it breaks down at Kailash. Our instruments are designed to measure the physical world. But what if the most important phenomena at Kailash are not physical? The strange energy fields, the warping of time and space, these could be side effects, ripples in our physical reality caused by something operating on a level we don't have the tools or the consciousness to perceive directly. It's like a 2D being trying to comprehend a 3D object passing through its plane of existence. It would only see a confusing, shifting slice, unable to grasp the true nature of the whole. Perhaps the gods and demons of ancient texts were not just mythological figures. Perhaps they were names for different states of consciousness, different levels of energetic frequency. To be demonic was to be driven by ego, greed, and the desire to conquer, the very mindset that Kailash seems to repel. To be divine was to achieve a state of harmony, wisdom, and unity with the cosmos, the very mindset the mountain seems to invite. This brings us back to the Kora, the sacred pilgrimage. It is the only path the mountain seems to permit. And look at what it entails. It's a grueling 32-mile trek at crushing altitude. It is an act of supreme effort and surrender. With every step, pilgrims are set to shed layers of negative karma, to purify their minds, to let go of their ego. It is, in essence, a process of recalibration, and spiritual algorithm designed to tune the human consciousness to the frequency of the mountain itself. The Kora is not a journey around a mountain. It is a journey inward. It is the process of becoming the key that fits the lock. It is the practical application of proving one's worthiness, not through strength or intellect, but through humility and devotion. So where does this leave us? We are a species in adolescence, drunk on our own technological power, yet spiritually immature. We look at Mount Kailash and we see a prize to be won, a mystery to be solved, a resource to be exploited. And the mountain, in its infinite patience, simply says, no, not yet. You're not ready. It forces us to confront the limitations of our own paradigm. The failure to climb Kailash is not a failure of our equipment or our endurance. It is a failure of our philosophy. We are so obsessed with going up, with conquering, with being the first, that we have forgotten the value of going inward, of surrendering, of simply being. The greatest secret of Mount Kailash may be that there is no secret hidden on its peak. The secret is the mountain itself. It is a living lesson, a divine challenge etched in stone and ice. It is a final exam for humanity. It's not a multiple-choice test. It's a practical one. And it's not graded on a curve. The mountain asks us to evolve, to shift from a civilization of conquerors to a civilization of guardians, to move from an obsession with material knowledge to a pursuit of profound wisdom, to understand that true power lies not in controlling the world around us, but in mastering the universe within us. All the strange phenomena, all the failed expeditions, all the spiritual awe, it all points to one inescapable conclusion. Mount Kailash is not waiting to be conquered. It is waiting for us to grow up. It is waiting for us to become the kind of beings who could be trusted with the answers it holds. Perhaps the day humanity finally understands Mount Kailash will not be the day we plant a flag on its summit, but the day we finally understand that we don't need to. The day we look upon its majestic, forbidden peak, not with a desire to conquer it, but with the humble gratitude of a student who has, at long last, understood the lesson.